Welcome to Midlife, Now What? Unfiltered conversations between two women who are smack in the middle of it all. This is for every woman who's ever thought, wait, is this it?
One married, one divorced, both raising kids, redefining careers, balancing family, and rediscovering who we are in this next chapter.
We talk about everything no one posts about, from identity and relationships to purpose, parenting, and all the shifts that come with it.
Because midlife isn't a crisis, it's a reawakening and a reconnection.
Some days, it feels like starting over.
Other days, it feels like finally coming home to yourself.
Either way, you're not alone. So grab your coffee
Or your wine.
and let's get honest about all of it.
Midlife, Now What? Streaming wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Midlife Now What, the podcast. This is a special episode of the podcast where we have our very first guest. And we have here today with us Dr. Erin Oksol. So she is the success psychologist and is your go-to expert for transforming individuals and teams into high-performing powerhouses. She specializes in helping CEOs, leaders, and entrepreneurs evolve the human behind the business. She has been awarded Top Doctor by Best in Nevada, the Professional Saleswoman of Nevada, and one of the top 125 global leaders to follow by Success Magazine. She is an award-winning high-performance executive coach, 8 times best-selling author, keynote speaker, and corporate trainer. With her science-backed pathways to elevate thinking, execution, and results, combined with spirituality-informed embodiment practices, Dr. Erin is here to help you and your organization thrive. Dr. Erin lives in Reno with her husband Garth and 3 children. Dr. Erin, it is so wonderful to have you here today. Thanks so much for spending this time with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm the first guest. That's so special to me. And I want to thank you and Jenny for this offering that you're giving women. It's very, very important and special. And I thank you for that.
Of course. We just want to make sure that we connect with women and we tell our stories because midlife is hard. Midlife is difficult.
I was thinking about if I had been interviewed about a year ago, it would be such a different interview because I was going through menopause. And I look back now at the time and I'm like, I think I might just chalk it all up to menopause. But at the time I didn't know. And I'd lost my ever loving mind. And so this is like the spiritually like before and after pictures. This is me after that. And it's just making me reminisce. So I'm excited to dive in with you ladies and talk about all the.
Well, you are just so empowering and you look beautiful and gorgeous. I mean, you obviously have come through the other end of menopause just glowing and embodying exactly what a midlife shift, can look like. So midlife, as we stated, can be incredibly difficult, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, all the stress of everything that's going on. And it can be really hard to find a level of happiness and peace. Yet at the same time, for some, we embrace that opportunity and we're able to find happiness and peace that we haven't felt ever in our entire lifetimes, basically. So Dr. Erin, what's your experience with midlife and how do you help other women find that happiness and peace in this stage of our lives?
Well, I went to school till I was 31. I just went and got all my degrees and I stayed in school till I was 31. So I like to think of I developed later in life. So my 30s were figure out adulthood and that was really hard for me. Early 40s was that too, but age 36, I had my own personal emotional breakdown and for a variety of reasons was clinically depressed and was trying to kind of cleave away from a narcissistic mother. And within 1 year of never having really drank any alcohol in my life, within 1 year, I was an alcoholic and ended up in jail with a DUI and eventually got to rehab. And so that sets the precedent for my midlife story because in the early 40s is when I created a life that was beyond my wildest dreams. I mean, I did all the work. I've always done the work. I always have multiple healers. I love all of that. But that was my rock bottom, propelled me into creating a life that I just absolutely loved and did all of those wonderful things that you mentioned in my bio. And then last year, unbeknownst to me, I went through menopause. And you would think with a PhD that I would know that I'm going through menopause. You would think. You would think. And you know what? I'm not going to be ashamed because no one really talks about this. And I went to my doctor several times and I was like, I'm depressed. I don't know why I'm depressed. I'm the happiest person I know. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And I knew like it wasn't a mindset issue. I was just like, what is going on? I have all these big dreams and these missions, and I love myself. And why am I crying every single day? Why did I gain 27 pounds without my permission? Why? I was at the point, I was like, please God, just take all these dreams away from me because I can't, I just change my dreams, like my actual dreams for my life, like my goals, like just take them all from me. It was awful. And my doctor didn't, and she's a woman and she didn't get it. She was like, maybe we should up your medication. And I was like, no, thank you. And then I have a dear friend, my dear friend Carol said, there is a doctor that you need to go to. And I got on her wait list for 6 months and I sat down in her chair and the nurse said, I'm so excited you're here because in 3 months from now, you will be a new woman. And I said, I would like that. Whatever that is, I would like that. The doctor comes in, I tell her what I'm experiencing and she says, got it. I don't even need to do your blood work. I know you're in menopause. And I said, excuse my French, that's a freaking revolution. You're just going to listen to me? She goes, you live there. You're the expert. You live in your body. And now I'm back to me. And I do like to give myself a little grace and say, I don't know if it was menopause or fascism or the election. Okay, so there's I don't know. That's my little joke. I don't know what happened last year, but it was a lot. So all I know is I got through it and I'm back to me. But I love this. I love this stage of life. I just love knowing who I am. I love knowing who I am.
I have a
Wow.
question there. Just you spark something in me that's just so amazing because our listeners are ages 30 to 60, 65, 70, right? And midlife doesn't necessarily hit you in your 30s or your 40s. And I chose to end my marriage when I was 42. Right. So it's kind of like you make these life altering decisions, whether it's to leave a career, whether it's to get sober, whether it's to have children later on in life. Right. And you kind of lived your life or you got married at a younger age. And so you're kind of having this aha moment. But it's the fact that you took control, the fact that you were like, something has to change. I can't keep going down this path, or I can't keep staying in this relationship or this job or this marriage, this house, this situation. Like, the only person that's going to change any of this is me. And it all fell back on you. So I just want to say, like, I commend you for the journey that you've gone down and the path. And I am not in menopause yet, but I've heard it's a bitch. And I've heard that it's like you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You know, like, we don't go through enough as women. We have children. We go through all this. And then this is how we're rewarded in the end. But I've heard from so many women post-menopause how it's the best years of their life once they get to the other side. How it's just like so much happiness and healing and body image, everything just sort of comes together. So I just wanted to say, like, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us so candidly and openly here, because I know so many women are going to resonate it and feel similar feelings. So
Oh, thanks, Jenny. That's my intention, is to set the captives free from their own captivity of whatever that is, and I just didn't quite know how to do this life. Like, I didn't know how to really trust myself. I didn't really know who she was. I was just so good at performing until it just wasn't the thing that I could really do anymore. But I always tell my psychology clients and my coaching clients, like, yes, doing the work, I call it the good, hard work. But you are always the recipient of all of the freedom that comes on the back end of it. It's like, I did all this work, on myself, but I really am the one that benefits the most from it, my spiritual freedom, my happiness. Not everyone gets the gift of a rock bottom choice. And a rock bottom's not required, but it can be such a common portal to creating your best life because it teaches you that you can survive the thing you didn't think you could survive. And it's almost like I'm unbotherable. And I say that in a really humble sense, but it's like when you've lived through it, it just changes your whole perspective, I think. But as far as my glowing skin, the science shows that when you get happy, your telomeres grow. Now, your telomeres are your anti-aging shoestrings. They're like shoestrings in your cells, and they fray over the years. And when you get happy, the shoestrings, the frays grow up and it builds the shoestrings. I literally am reversing backwards. And it's because I'm at home here. And that's what I want for so many women. So it gets to be really good. I went to bar class this morning, which is hell on earth exercise class. A woman was turning 28 and I said, "Oh, honey, you've never been closer to being 52." Like I'm just like, this is when it gets so good. Like, and she was so excited to be 28 and, you know, start having babies and all that. And I was like, "Oh, honey, it's so good."
No, I hope it continues to get better and better. They say life begins in 40 or 45, and I'm hoping and praying and manifesting all of that in my second half of my life as well.
I think it all comes down to, if happiness is an identity issue, which I believe it is. I believe that the way to happiness is very actually simple. It's two things. You figure out who you want to be and then you go and be that. And if you do that, you have a chance of liking yourself. Okay. It sounds kind of silly and elementary, but it's really hard to like yourself if you're living in a way that's outside of your value system. So
Mhm.
first you got to figure out who you want to be and then go and be her. And then you will have her life and you will have her, identity. But I think in midlife, why it can be such a rattling time for so many is it's the first time that women really look at, oh my gosh, outside of the roles that I've played as mother and wife or whatnot, or creating a career, it's like, what actually is this life? And what do I want? And who am I? And I don't know. What do I like to do for fun? And do I like to relax? And do I like to be with people? And what do I like? And that can be jarring, but it can also be a great opportunity to just become an explorer in your own life and figure it out. But the not knowing is a little jarring, you
Well, and I
know?
feel like even just asking that question, right? All those questions you just asked yourself. Sometimes I feel like the three of us are like, yeah, let's ask those questions. Let's go deep. And I will say for a lot of women that I know, they're going to ask two of those questions and then they're going to shut down because they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a mom, right? It's like it's too deep. It's too evolved. It's too heavy for them to be like, well, what do you
Mm.
mean? What do I like? What do you mean? Am I happy? Or what do you mean? It's like, can't we just keep it surface? Like, of course I'm happy. I have two healthy children and little Benji plays soccer and my husband's so amazing. But if you start to like actually peel it back a little bit, you're like, it's okay to ask those questions. It's okay to stop and look in the mirror and really go deep and get to know who you are again. And like you said, peel back those roles.
I think you bring up a really good point there, Jenny, and this is something that the three of us share. Sometimes life throws us a curveball where we have a traumatic moment, whether it's, you, Dr. Erin, at 36 with your DUI and realizing what was happening, Jenny, you with your marriage, me with my son and the trauma around that. We have all had this moment where we've been forced to stop and say, wait a second, this is not who I really am. There's been that defining moment. And so it's almost like you need that trauma to take you to the next step. But what can we do for those women who don't have that trauma and hopefully will never have those moments of trauma to help them get to that stage of midlife where they really define who they are and what success actually is to them? So anyway, just my thought.
Can
Yes.
I show you the way to that? It's so simple in
Show
my
us
mind.
the way.
Okay, everyone, this is very, very simple. I want you to ask yourself, if I was being my ideal self, the wisest, truest version of myself, the highest version of myself, whatever word resonates with you, what words would describe her? And what that's going to do is it's going to get you into a values based definition of your identity that's not about your goals and it's not about your roles. So you might find words like, well, my highest self is loving. My highest self is patient. My highest self is contributory. My highest self is confident. And then you figure out, well, what would that look like if I was being that? That truly is the simplest path, but the most profound. And what I have found is you always know the answer. I just have to ask you that question and pull out of you those words. Let me explain. If one of my values is being fit, and sometimes I wish it wasn't because that might be easier, okay? But for whatever reason, it is. Now, if I go and do unfit things all day long, it's going to be hard to like my identity and to feel like I am successful, because your own definition of your highest self is your definition of success, by the way. It's not about an outside circumstance. So if I am behaving in ways that a fit person would behave, guess what? I like myself. I trust myself. I build that. That's what you got to ask. It's profound. And like Jenny said, thank you for the reminder because I forget that a lot of humans aren't asking those questions, but the quality of your life is dictated by the quality of questions you ask yourself. So those two questions, who do I value being? And you can even try on those identities for the different roles you wear. If I was being the wife I valued being, what would I be doing? And I do that. I walk and I would practice walking through the house at night when I would drive home and I'd be like, okay, now I'm turning on this identity. Who's the kind of wife I value being? Now my son's coming downstairs from his bedroom. What's the kind of mother I value being? And then, for example, want to be patient? Guess what you got to do? You got to be patient. It's not complicated. It's like, well, how? Well, you would be patient. It's like the key that unlocks you. And if you don't know how to do the things you want to do, then you hire someone and you get help. Like, the how is just the skills. If you're like, I don't know how to be patient, you can learn. All of these skills are learned. None of us come out of the womb being any of these things. So that's the good news too. If you're like, I don't know how to be disciplined, you could learn. I don't know how to be confident. You could learn. Go figure out who can teach you how to do that. These aren't just gifts that are like landed in my lap and I just got lucky. It's like, no, I learned how to do all these things. So I just think it's good news.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, I always knew we were really aligned in what we do, Dr. Erin. With all of my leadership coaching that I've done, I've always done value alignment exercises. Every decision that we make, every action that we take needs to be in alignment with our top 5 core values every single day.
Oh, that
So
makes so
I
much
love
sense.
that. Yeah, I love that you brought that up. And so I know you have a lot of clients, both as a psychologist and as a coach. What are some of the most common struggles that you see from women in midlife as they come to you asking for advice and needing that help?
If I think about that, it's like on the one hand, part of it is the age that we are and the stage of life, but part of it is also there are people that hit 50 and have learned all of the things that we're talking about. And there are people that hit 50 that haven't ever thought about these things. So I don't necessarily think it's an age thing, but wherever in your life you start to ponder very simple questions like, what do I want my life to be about? What do I want? Who do I want to be? How do I want this story to be told at the end? Having this kind of begin with the end in mind, like what do I want? What do I really, really want? It's just like wherever someone gets to that point. But for the people that I see that haven't asked those questions, what I find is they do not know how to orient to their self because there is no self. So if you think about like self-care, self-trust, self-mastery, self-discipline, it all involves a self. Okay, so what is this self? In psychology, it's just what we call who do you know yourself to be? And it's a requirement to then create boundaries. It's a requirement then to figure out, well, how would I set a boundary if I didn't know where myself was? Like, how would I care for myself if I don't know what myself is? And so I see a lot of women, even in our 50s, of like, I'm still trying to please my mother and I still care what people think. And is it okay to want what I want? And is it okay? That's a big one. Is it okay to want what I want? And so a lot of it is learning to build that, again, orienting to yourself versus outsourcing your power or your identity. And at the base of all of this work and is the reclamation of remembering that we're worthy and good enough. That's what comes in midlife of like, okay, I've done all the busyness of life and now I'm figuring out like, am I really, do I belong here? Am I worthy? And those are really big questions to answer.
I love that. I feel like it's what I have heard a lot from women in midlife, the societal expectations. We've spent the first, half of our lives living up to society's expectations of who we should be or are expected to be as women. And so our self-worth, that definition of self comes from society, is almost enforced upon us by society and the culture in which we grew up. Whereas then suddenly in midlife, we're like, wait. Maybe what if I don't want this societal definition anymore?
Oh, so well
Right?
said. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think too, Erin, it's a generational thing, right? Let's think about our parents
Mhm.
or our caregivers growing up, right? Like our parents have their own generational trauma, right? They were grown up, they were raised in a different time, in a different way that we were raised and that they raised us and the way we're raising our children, right? It's constantly generational and changing. And I can almost guarantee none of our moms or grandmothers our dads sat and had these conversations, sat and asked themselves these questions of value. So why would they then tell us in our 20s or 30s to ask ourselves these questions? I mean, I love my mom very, very much. I was pretty much raised by my mom. My parents were divorced before I was one. And my mom very much was, well, yes, and you go to college, right? Everybody goes to college, and then you're going to get married and you're going to have children. And my mom couldn't be a stay-at-home mom. So it was very much that's what I wanted. I was never career focused because I saw my mom who had to go off to work and she couldn't be at home with us. I remember standing on the after school daycare in third, fourth, fifth grade on the ramp of the portable of where we had our after school care. And I would see my mom at 5:30, and I would run to her. And I knew at that young age that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, that I didn't want a career. Making money didn't matter to me. I wanted a lot of children, and I needed to be at home and raise my children. And so I remember I met my ex-husband, and my mom was like, you should marry him. He's going to let you be a stay-at-home mother, and you're going to have a lot of children, and he'll provide for you. And I was like, okay. I didn't even at that young age know what love was, know what I wanted in a relationship or I wanted in a partner. No one ever said, hey, take a look at your in-laws because that's what you're marrying into and their values and that family, right? So it's like all these things at my midlife now age is like, I didn't even know to ask those questions. I didn't even know, again, like my mom didn't say, hey, heads up, pay attention to this or this or this, because guess what? Her mom never had that conversation with her if her mom was even in the room. You know what I mean? So it's like all these conversations we're having with our kids now and trying to break through their screen time and everything else is like, hey, be more aware. Think about these things a little bit more. Like, I love that you talk about values and you talk about asking yourself, like, what kind of a mom do you want to be? What kind of a psychologist or an entrepreneur or a doctor do you want to be? No one ever asked our generation those questions. So to stop at 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and be like, well, shit, this doesn't work for me and I'm not happy and I don't recognize the person in the mirror. And now you want me to ask myself what my values are? What are values? What do I want to be? You know, like no one's ever asked me that before. And again, it's not like we're not bashing our caregivers. It's just we're trying to reteach our nervous system and our way of being brought up. And it's all so new. And again, it comes down to like the three of us, like Erin said, with our aha moments that forced us to be like, hold on, this isn't the path I want to go down anymore. And I know so many women listening to this are like, I want the strength to do this. I want the knowledge to do that. And it's scary. It's hard because the cycle and the path that they're necessarily on right now isn't broken. They're not happy and they're not quite sure how to find happipness, but what they're doing right now works.
You make me think of something too, because when you evolve and grow, and we still have the generation of our parents in our lives, if we're lucky to have that, they really don't understand some of the choices we're making. And so I talk about it as like, if their target is over here and your target for success is over here, you're going to miss one of them if you hit one of them. You know, it's like teaching people, I always want you to hit your own target and disappoint someone else instead of hitting their target and disappointing yourself. And that generation, I don't think has that orientation. I think that's the difference, right? And so after all of those beautiful things you've mentioned about me and the awards that I've had, and I love my mother too, if she ever listens to this, it's fine. But she even recently has said, honey, I think you should stick with what you're good at. So if I didn't know where that was coming from, I might interpret that as cruel, but I'm not trying to meet her definition of success. I'm orienting to mine. I can tolerate not meeting other people's definitions of success. If you can learn how to tolerate the distress of that, you will meet your own.
Yep.
If you line 10 people up and say, what do you think about how Dr. Erin's living her life? You're going to get 10 different opinions. And what matters is my husband and I are like, we are nailing it and we love our life and this is working for us. So where are you orienting to?
I love that. You know, really defining where you are now, where you're going, and then figuring out what that path needs to look like, right? And making sure that it is your definition of success.
And when you said like, I didn't know what I didn't know, basically, it's like in our 20s, were we ever thinking, I just want peace? Like that was not even on like peace. Right now, everything is run by, does it bring me peace? Does it bring me joy? Does it bring me peace? Does it bring me joy? I was not orienting to that.
No, I was like, I have to get married, right? I have to get married to get married. And I was like, and then I have to have kids. But
right. I have to
Why?
succeed in financially and career. Like I have to, but peace? Like what? So it
Yeah.
makes sense in midlife when, yeah, what the target is changing or coming on board for the first time ever in your life, then your decision making is going to be oriented to this construct that never was even there.
Yep. Yep.
So guess what? I do things that make me peaceful. So guess what? I have peace. It's like
Yeah.
I
And
do
like
stuff
you
that
said,
makes me happy.
the
I am
only
happy.
opinion is you and your husband's. And you're like, we
You
like
know,
our life and this works and we're happy. Yeah, then we're gonna keep doing it, you know, and it's yeah.
and the great thing is when we're happy, the world benefits from that. And so a peaceful, happy, fit Erin is good for everybody.
And
You
her
know,
children. Yeah,
of
right. And your
course. Yes.
children.
It's like, oh, that serves the world. Yes,
No,
that
I
serves the
see
world.
so many women and they're like, "Oh my gosh, how did you do it? How did you end your marriage?" Well, I didn't just wake up one morning and say I'm going to end my marriage because I have my ex and I have a very great co-parenting relationship. We get along great. There was nothing wrong in the marriage. I was just not happy. 4,
Mm.
5, 6 years of just not being happy. And I was just like, I'm going to be 40. I can't do this anymore. So I made the conscious, very hard choice. And I have women say, "Oh yeah, I could never do that. No, I'm going to do that when Timmy goes off to college." And I'm like, "Oh, so when you're 10 years older, um, do you think it's
Mm.
going to be easier and not affect Timmy when he's in college and his parents broke up?" Right? The stories we tell ourselves of justifying and making it okay. And like, well, that's what I'm going to do. And that's my journey. But I'm miserable right now. And everybody's fine and it's totally fine. But like, we don't spend holidays together. And the more they talk and they start to hear themselves, we don't spend holidays together or we sleep in separate rooms or like we fight a lot. And I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, now do it now for you. But the fear, right, you were saying of the like, but what if, or how are we perceived by society, or oh, I can't be divorced, or oh, right, like all of the narratives and the stories we tell ourselves prevent us from being divorced or from being single or from doing it on our own. Again, I think because being raised, you know, or just or how you were brought up, it was just so like you don't do that, you don't do that, you don't do that. But I wish more women would choose the path of happiness.
I think people are genuinely worried they're going to damage their children by making what may seem like these selfish moves. And we just know that that's not true. I mean, maybe you don't, as a listener, know that that's not true, but I will tell you one of the greatest gifts I've ever given my children is showing them how I made myself whole and healed and happy. I remember sitting down at rehab, meeting my therapist, and I was like, this is it. Like I've completely ruined my life. And she goes, "You are going to be a blessing to your children." And I said, "You are smoking crack. I don't know what you're on. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is never going to be a blessing." And now I have children that say, "I want to be just like you when I grow up. You're everything to me." At Thanksgiving, she said, my 23-year-old said, "What I'm most thankful for about you this year is you became more of you, and that gives me permission to be more of me." I'm just like, okay, I think
Oh my gosh.
I know. Like, I don't like done. I'm cooked. I've won. It's like
That's the greatest gift you can give her.
it's the greatest gift. And so like I care so much about you that I will care so much about me.
Yes. Yes.
And
Please say that again. Please say that again.
I care so much about you that I will take care of me.
And a common thread I hear in both of you right now is we have logic pushed on us all the time. We say, I think, right? I think I'm going to wait 10 years until Timmy goes to college. I think. But how do you feel?
Ooh,
Right? So instead of asking ourselves what we think we should do, ask ourselves how we feel and align that with our values. And that's the decision we need to make.
Boom. Mic drop.
boom.
There we go.
Thank you,
There we
Erin.
go.
That-
That's like, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So often we ask ourselves what we think. It's not about that. Especially in midlife, as women, we need to connect with our feelings.
I've trained my husband that when I text him and be like, "Do you think I should do this? What do you think I should do? And should we do this?" I've trained him because I told him to do it and he does it. He goes, "Does it bring you joy?" And I'm like, gosh darn it. It's just such a simple question every single time. And I get such
Oh.
clarity.
Marie Kondo
And
does that.
I'm like, it
I
really
love
is
that.
that easy. You know, and so I mean, really, that's how you get into your feelings. Like, does that
Yes.
feel like peace? Does that feel like truth? Does that feel like freedom? Does that feel like joy? Does that feel like, okay, let's just orient to that actually can be the compass.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
The
Erin,
only issue with that,
I'm going to text you, Erin, and you have to always ask me that.
There you go. Does it bring you joy? Does it bring you joy? Yeah.
My mom used to reply
No.
with, is that pleasing Jesus?
You got to Marie Kondo your spiritual life.
Marie
Yes,
Kondo
that was the
that.
thing. Yes,
Marie
my mom
Kondo
would have
that for
always
sure.
responded with like, is that pleasing Jesus? I'm like, Mom.
No, is it pleasing you? Right. Is it pleasing you? And so the only issue I've run into with myself with getting into my feelings is I wasn't allowing myself, and we talked about this in the last episode, Jenny. I wasn't allowing myself to sit still long enough to connect with my feelings.
That's a hard one.
2 years ago, God gave me my word for the year and it was stillness. I was like, I would like another word. I do not cosign. This is nonsense.
That word makes me
Redraw.
uncomfortable.
And then that, changed my life. So
Mhm.
I thought
Yeah.
the stillness, here's what I want people to know. I thought the stillness was going to be void of any good thing. And I realized the stillness is pregnant with the possibilities of the cosmos. It's so dramatic. It's so dramatic. I love the stillness because that is where all good things are waiting for me. I had a 49-year run of resisting meditation. I had a good run. And that was like, because I didn't get it. And I think of it more as contemplation, and all great ideas come when I am still.
So
Or
true.
open. So I just always want people to know, like, oh no, that's where the good stuff is. It's not where nothing is.
Yeah, it's not you being lazy. It's not you not doing anything. It's you pausing. Same.
It's not even you not having thoughts. It's you listening. It's you actually getting still to listen to your higher self and take directions from her because she knows the way.
And this is me and my nerd self coming in again. And I did this last episode too. Here's the quantum physics theory that associates with that, right? When we are still, we have an infinite number of possibilities. When we are in motion, there is only one path we can take. You have to pause and be still in order to comprehend, like you said, what's open in the cosmos. It's literally a theory of quantum physics. You have to pause and know where you are now to understand the possibilities ahead of you. If you're constantly going, there's only one direction you are headed on. And that's the momentum in which you're heading. That's it.
It's so cool.
Mhm.
So cool.
Yeah. So you have to sit in the stillness to recognize and understand what possibilities are out there.
Now I get excited about it. I'm like, when can I be still again? When can I be still? Because it's waiting for me.
Yep.
So,
It's waiting for you.
learned.
Possibilities.
I do remember, though, when I started my business, I was like, I'm going to help women be at home with themselves. And so many women said that is the last place I want to be. That is terrifying. Like, at home with themselves, they're like, no, thank you. So everything we're talking about today is talking about this idea of like, I want you to create your own, like, you are the greatest place you could ever be, but so I
Erin,
understand
talk more about that, because
Well,
how do you break that down for these women? How do you get that?
it's figuring out who you want to be and going and being her. And then as you do that, it builds self-trust. I am the woman that is who she says she is. It builds self-esteem. I like myself because I am being. It's the same pathway.
Yeah. It's basically everything we've just talked about, it sounds like.
I mean, when your brain is a dangerous neighborhood to hang out in, it makes sense. You don't want to hang out there. So it's figuring out how to have a friendly relationship with this self, with yourself.
Well, for me, I was also fearful of the work, right? If I sit in it, then I have to deal with the trauma that I've always just suppressed rather than actually dealing with.
Well, then there's that.
And
Yes.
so it took a lot of hard work, and there were some dark days associated with that. But let me tell you what, the other side of working through that trauma has exceeded my expectations.
And look, it's so true, Erin. It's the work. It's the day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute commitment and work. But like you said, the benefits on the other end, and all three of us can speak to that. And I know so many other women listening can relate to, yes, it was hard, but I did it and I stuck with it. And I just wish for so many people who are feeling that, if you're listening right now and you are feeling stuck and you're like going back to Dr. Aaron's with the stillness, like try it for 5 minutes, right? I remember someone saying, look, if you want to run a half a marathon, we don't expect you to put your sneakers on and go out and on the first day run 8 miles, right? It's too overwhelming. It's never going to happen. You bit off too much. You can't do it. Maybe you start with putting the sneakers by the door and putting them on one day and going for a 5-minute walk. So maybe if it's sitting with the stillness and getting curious about what comes up for you and that being very heavy for you, just start with 5 minutes. Stop what you're doing, sit on the couch right now, put your phone down, Christmas tree, or stare out the window and just be for 5 minutes. Maybe it's 2 minutes, and just see what comes up for you. And don't push the feelings or the thoughts away, but what comes up in your body? How are you feeling? Where do you feel it in your body? What thoughts are coming up for you? And just allow them to be. And then maybe the next day you do 6 minutes, you do 7 minutes, but just allowing yourself to have those thoughts and emotions and not shame yourself for them, not try to push them away, not say, okay, well, that's it and I'm done. But like, it's a daily practice that we and you can slowly commit to. And that's where the magic happens. That's where the work is.
Mhm.
And I think what you just brought up, Jenny, is so important, that stillness can look different for everyone, right? It is not just this definition of meditation that you may have in your head, which is always what scared me about meditating. They're like, sit still for at least 10 minutes and clear your brain. I'm like, clear my what? My brain
I
is
know.
never clear. Right. But there is such a thing as active meditation. And so for me, what worked best for me to find my stillness was actually the active meditation. It was taking a shower, or it was driving, and just allowing myself to be in my feelings and my thoughts and sift through them and work through them. And what you just said, right? Figure out, where am I feeling that in my body? What does that feel like? It doesn't have to be the definition that everyone thinks that it is, or that society imposes upon us as this is what you absolutely have to do. No, it can look different for each and every one of us. It can be dance, it can be movement.
If you're in my world, you know my secret spot is the treadmill. All my great ideas come on the treadmill. It's my calibration portal, I call it, to God. Well, that and the shower. So yeah, no. Brene Brown says the greatest way she meditates is walking. There's a rhythm that happens. So it's not about stillness as much as I think it's more like opening the channel to listening and just seeing what drops in,
Yes.
which is very different than I'm trying not to think about anything.
Well, because then you just push it down, push it down, push it down. And guess what? Then all you're going to do is then you're going to look to your nervous system's going to get activated.
Yeah.
You're going to get overwhelmed. And then guess what? You're irritable with yourself, your spouse, your partner, your children. You're yelling at the dog. You have no patience. You've totally blown it, and then you're just out of control. And then you're just like, I don't even know what's going on. And that's because you didn't allow yourself the opportunity to process sort of what's going on and be still and feel the emotions.
And again, if you're like, I don't know how to feel my emotions, and I certainly don't know how to not get anxious when I'm thinking, those are skills you can learn. Go and learn. Who can teach me how to do this? These are skills that I learned. These are skills that people pay me a lot of money to teach them. But they're skills that you can learn. You can learn to be the observer of your thoughts instead of your thoughts. You can learn to feel your feelings instead of think about your feelings. Like, you can learn. So whenever you're like, I don't know how, just have that be, I can learn.
Well, Dr. Erin, you have had so many amazing tips that we've discussed today, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be on this podcast with us, to go through everything we've talked about with regard to success and stillness and the midlife journey and your own personal story, which I know is going to resonate with so many people. How can people find you? Where can they go to hear more from Dr. Erin, or, like you said, hire you for some of these amazing skill building opportunities?
Oh, thanks for having me. You can find me at drerinoksol.com, Dr. Erin Oksol on Facebook, Instagram. You'll find me there. I've got books that can help you figure out your higher self. I've got a book, Oh, How Human of Me. I've got a journal, God is My Guru, to help you ask these questions of yourself to lead yourself home to your highest self and live your higher life. So yeah, thank you so much. This was such a treat.
Thank you. And we'll have that website and your socials in our show notes for those that are interested. I am going to spell that website for you right now, because Oksol isn't what it sounds like. So
No,
I want to make sure that
not.
I enunciate that for those of you that are driving or moving while listening to this, right? So it is Dr. Erin Oksol, which is DRERINOKSOL.com.
Bless you, Erin.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Erin. We really appreciate your time. And we can't wait to hopefully continue to hear from you as we go on.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.